Good night. Good evening, everyone. I call the April 24th, 2020. Good evening, everyone. Is everyone here? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I call the April 24th, 2023 school board meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. We're in conference room C of the Fisher Administration Building at 12121 West North Avenue. Ms. Summers, please call the roll.
Dr. Worley? Here. Mr. Morris?
Here.
Mr. Meyer?
Here.
Dr. Jessup Banger?
Here.
Dr. Hoyt? Here. Ms. Heimerl-Rolland? Here. Ms. Willis? Here.
Thank you all. It's nice to see you this evening, and welcome to our newest board members. It's delightful to have you all here with us this evening. We begin with public comment on non-agenda items. Members of the Wauwatosa School Board value the input of students, parents, staff members, and community members. The board's regularly scheduled meetings provide an opportunity for opinions and concerns to be expressed publicly. The board values all comments and will respectfully consider this input in decision-making. The board requests that individuals limit their comment on each item to 3 minutes. Following any comment, an individual board member may respond on the issue raised. However, it is not the intent of public comment portion of the agenda for the board to enter into debate with a member or members of the community. Because non-agenda items are not publicly posted in advance, no action will be taken on public comment regarding non-agenda items this evening. Is there any public comment in the room this evening? Seeing none, Jamie, do we have any online?
We have no hands raised. Thank
you. We will then move into the consent agenda. For the board, are there any items on the consent agenda which board members would like to remove for separate discussion and action this evening? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Second. Thank you. Any board comments and questions on this motion? Seeing none, any community comment on this item? I see none online either. Ms. Summers, please call the roll.
Dr. Worley? Yes. Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Banger?
Yes.
Dr. Hoyt? Yes. Ms. Heimerl-Rolland? Yes. Ms. Willis? Yes.
Thank you all very much. We are now moving on to the next agenda item. Is a monthly financial report from Mr. Whiteman.
Thank you. Yeah, attached in board docs, you'll find the monthly financial report for March 2023. Typically, we'll be bringing those to our Finance and Resources Committee meetings, reviewing them there, and then attaching it to the full board agenda as part of that report out. But we didn't meet this month, so we're bringing it to the full board. For those of you new to the board, we organized a report with the first page having a highlighted text box that shows if there's anything unusual or something we need to kind of call out and report out on. You can see in the top of this one, there is nothing material to report out at this time. The report then shows fiscal month-end status by fund, cash positions, a balance sheet, and other financial items. And then probably the first page and last page are the most significant to a board review. And that would be the text box to look at further things like that, but then also the vendor payments over $20,000. For those new to the board, we changed the policy language to now be $85,000 or more comes to a board approval for vouchers and payments to vendors. But we kept this at $20,000 just to keep it more transparent as we used to the new policy language. I anticipate that in May we'll have a Finance Resources Committee meeting where we'll do the validation there and then bring it to the full board through that process.
How are we tracking, Mr. Brightman?
We are tracking as expected.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer?
So please, can you, we know what it is, but for the benefit of the public, when we raise to $85,000, there is the question of whether we need competitive bids and what the threshold is for that. Please, can you explain when we have competitive bids, your authority as Chief Financial Officer, among other roles, to waive competitive bids if certain criteria are met so that we're all on the same starting point with that?
Yeah, so no matter what the purchasing is, we'll always use the most prudent approach to it. There are things that are easily competitively bid. If it's a commodity type item, if it's a paving project, that kind of thing, we'll always bid those kinds of things out. For things like consultant contracts and things like that, there may be a reasonable way to bid those things out. We'll at least do like a request for proposals and weigh those and put a rating criteria together to make sure we're getting the best value for the system. I think I said that back when we were in the policy language adjustments that in my 20+ year career, I've never had a purchase kind of question that wasn't done through an upfront process and wasn't a good purchase for the district. So I intend that to be the case moving forward too. And like I said, we'll always use the most prudent approach. We do have policy language that dictates thresholds for when we need to go to certain RFQs or RFPs or competitive bids and things. We'll follow that obviously, but even if it's $1, we'll still do our due diligence on those types of things.
And at times there are reasons to choose a vendor that is not the lowest bid.
That is correct. That's what we put together for things like a consulting contract. We'd want to weigh the service, the people we'd be working with, the references we get back, the legwork they've done, other things beyond just the cost scope of a proposal. So if we have something like that, it gets more complicated. You won't see those likely on a consent agenda because they are more complicated. We'll talk through that with you before we ask for your approval on that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. Other questions and comments from the board?
Mr. Brightman, we purposely put this agenda item on so the board members can dig into this more. As you're looking at this monthly report, what are some highlights that if you are a board member that you should pay attention to and that you want to draw their attention to on this document?
Yeah, like I said, the first page, that highlighted text box is the first place to look, and we'll point anything out there that looks atypical or isn't tracking as we would have expected it to. The two next pages are really just kind of the monthly statement of revenues, expenditures, and kind of a cash position piece. That one is good for our knowledge. We look at that detailed wise in our office, but for governance, it's there for your, for transparency for you to review. As you look at pages 3, 4, and 3, 5, kind of towards the middle of the document, that's an interim statement of revenue and expenditures. It's broken down by each fund. And so as we go through a budget cycle and we have you approve the budget in a fund type magnitude, this will make a little bit more sense, especially to the new board members as we look at that. But again, we compare these pages, what we saw last year compared to this year. So it's an easy way to kind of benchmark again, are we tracking as we would expect? Second to the last page is our cash receipts and disbursement summary. And again, that one shows kind of our change in cash position. If you look down at the bottom of that page, our cash at the end of this month, at the end of March, was $57,990,000. And that's a big number, obviously. At a future meeting and through our budget process, we'll bring a cash flow chart with us that kind of shows our ebb and flow of cash position as we track through the year. So our cash position gets to closer to the $10 to $15 million mark at the low point. And at the high point, which is now, we received our majority of our taxes, property taxes, and some state aid payments. And so it's higher at this point in time. So that'll ebb and flow throughout our cycle. But those are kind of the key places to look. And then that last page that shows our vendor payments is always a good place to look to kind of cross-check. Are we bringing the things to you that you would expect? There's routine items on here. United Healthcare, for example, is a big number, $1.8 million in healthcare reimbursements or costs that we have within our system. But otherwise, they're all tracking the way that we thought they would.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing no other questions. I think the report is complete. I'm just kind of stunned. We're almost done with our board meeting. We are at the point of having public comment on non-agenda items.
Longer.
What?
But we could all talk longer if you're disappointed.
I'm not disappointed. It's just,
I know, I'm just,
Dr. Jesselvanger, and again, our goal is to be succinct, but our consent agenda, you may have noticed there was more text in the consent agenda to explain why we were bringing things to you. And we understand that for 3 members of the board, there may not be as much history as others have. So we will we're committed to having that type of text. Please let us know if that's not enough moving into the future. But I think that's one reason why we want to make sure the consent agenda is succinct. And I guess for the monthly financial statement, Mr. Brightman and his team and I have been working to refine that document where it is, you don't have to be a financial person to read it. And that you can, as a board, but candidly, even as a community member, you can track what we're doing from a transparency standpoint.
We are moving into the final public comment on any non-agenda items this evening. Seeing none in the room. Jamie, do we have any online?
No, there are no hands raised.
It is 6:11 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn into a board in service?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Dr. Worley,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Dr. Jessup Baker,
Yes.
Dr. Hoy. Yes. Ms. Heimer Roland,
Yes.
Ms. Willis.
Yes.
Thank you all. We'll be back in 2 minutes.